Robert chuckled when I questioned why he created a family card just for his in-laws. He confidently stated, "They're my family, so they should have a family card, right? Got a problem with that? If you knew who took you in when you were all alone, you wouldn't say such things." His arrogant tone caught me off guard. I wondered if he was always like this. He added, "If you're grateful, do more for my family, and then I'll acknowledge you as part of the family. Until then, it's like you're on a provisional license." This concept of a provisional phase in marriage was new to me. Robert pressed on, saying I wasn't yet a formal family member. If I didn't like it, I could leave any time. For now, our family was just the five of us, and he referred to us as useless parasites. I understood his perspective, so I promptly canceled our joint credit cards and moved out. My name is Emily Welder, 27 years old, a freelance illustrator. I used to work for a big advertising agency, but went independent after marrying Robert 2 years ago. My parents died when I was young, and my maternal grandparents took me in. When I went to college, I moved back to the city center apartment where I lived with my parents. I met Robert, a handsome waiter, at an Italian restaurant where he worked. We rapidly grew closer, and soon we were called a couple, leading to a surprising marriage. I loved Robert then, quitting my job to go independent. Robert continued working at the restaurant with varying hours, making it challenging to maintain our routine. Despite this, our married life started happily. After about a year, Robert dropped a bombshell. His family wanted to visit. I agreed, even though I had minimal interaction with them during our initial meeting. I saw this as an opportunity to get to know Robert's family better. Having lost my parents at a young age, I always admired the idea of a large family. However, when his family of four arrived, I was left speechless. His 32-year-old sister, 5 years older than both Robert and me, shockingly asked, "Which room is mine?" Her rude manner contrasted sharply with the polite greeting during our first meeting. Robert's 18-year-old sister stood silently without saying a word. Despite the abrupt greetings, I showed the two sisters to the guest room and assigned Robert's parents to the room that used to be my parents' room. It was the only Japanese-style room in the apartment, and I thought it would be best for them. Once settled, Robert's older sister declared, "Since we're going to be living here together, you better start serving our family properly." Confused, I looked to Robert for help, but he was laughing in a way I had never seen before. It turned out his family had given up their own home and moved into my apartment without my knowledge. Apologizing, Robert explained that their family home had to be vacated suddenly, and they had nowhere else to go. I wished he had informed me earlier, as I had assumed it was just for a date or two. Expressing my inconvenience, Robert apologized and asked if they could stay until they found somewhere else to go. Unable to turn away the family of someone important to me, especially in their time of need, I reluctantly agreed. Reluctantly, I agreed to let Robert's family stay with the condition that they find a new place as soon as possible. However, I would come to regret this decision. From the day they moved in, Robert's family showed no restraint. All four of them did nothing and left everything to me, saying whatever they wanted. They made no effort to look for a house or a job. When I asked about their jobs, I got another surprise. Robert's older sister had quit her part-time job at a supermarket. Despite her age, she revealed she hadn't had a steady job since high school. Robert's parents had also quit their part-time jobs before coming here, and his younger sister was unemployed, lying about being a student. When I questioned why they weren't working, Robert's sister shockingly said, "Why should I work when I've become part of a wealthy family?" She claimed I had received a big settlement and insurance money from my parents' accident, and since I didn't have a mortgage on the apartment, I could live without working. I protested to Robert, but he defended his family, claiming they needed time to rest. The tyranny of Robert's family worsened. They treated me like a servant at home and demanded money when going out. I reluctantly gave them some money, which they claimed to have spent without finding a job. If I confronted them, they would accuse me of lying without proof. Robert assured me he would talk to them, but as time went on, It seemed like saying anything was pointless. However, the frequency of their requests for money gradually decreased, perhaps because Robert addressed the issue. It seemed to resolve itself, but the money I had given them was never returned. After about 3 months of living this way, I noticed something alarming. Why was the credit card bill so high? Could it be unauthorized use? Upon checking the statement, all the charges were made with family credit cards, covering purchases from food and drinks to books, games, and expensive brand bags and clothes. Each item was labeled with a number from 1 to 5, indicating that 5 family credit cards had been issued. Currently, these credit cards were in my name, with Robert using the family cards. He had mentioned that it would be more convenient to consolidate payments and asked if he could leave it to me to manage them. However, it appeared these family cards had been issued without my knowledge. Robert's family stopped asking for money because they could now make credit card payments and cash withdrawals. When I confronted Robert about why he made family cards for his in-laws without consulting me, he laughed and said, "Well, do you complain when they say they have no money? What choice do I have? Besides, you know who took you in when you were all alone, right? Can you really say such things to the important family of your benefactor?" His arrogant tone stunned me into silence. I wondered if Robert was always like this. He added, "If you're grateful, you should serve my family more. Then I'll acknowledge you as family too. Until then, consider it like you're on a provisional license." This concept of a provisional phase in marriage was new to me. Noticing my silence, Robert pressed further, stating that I wasn't yet an official family member. If I didn't like it, I could leave any time. Right now, it's just the 5 of us in our family. Useless parasites. Get out. That's when I realized Robert's true nature. Shocked and feeling as if all the blood had drained from my body, I considered divorcing Robert. In fact, I began to question why I married him in the first place. Initially, I thought he was just a handsome guy like the other girls and was excited about his looks without any particular intent. Then, during one encounter, Robert approached me saying, "You seem different from other people." Emily, I don't know how to put it, mystical. Sorry, it's not something I should say to a customer. I was taken aback, but the conversation continued, and I gradually started to notice Robert. Maybe that was his strategy to make me like him. Thinking about it calmly, it started to make sense. I remember when Robert came to our table for small talk. A colleague jokingly said I was a wealthy girl living alone in a condo. It was right after that he started talking to me, probably after my wealth and this condo. Robert wasn't really my type, to put it nicely. He was modern, to put it bluntly. He seemed somewhat frivolous. I preferred mature men who could talk quietly and seriously. But despite my preferences, I ended up falling for Robert. I always found that strange. Robert was the so-called handsome guy, making it easy for him to charm a woman, especially someone like me, not used to men and newly into the workforce. I fell for his tactics and ended up marrying him. The thought made me frustrated and embarrassed. I felt like destroying everything in the house, but I wasn't foolish enough to act on that impulse. I decided to get revenge somehow. For that, I needed to endure this life a little longer. Like Robert manipulated me, I would control his entire family. The condo we live in was bought by my father with a mortgage soon after I was born. It wasn't very expensive back then, but the area developed rapidly with a new shopping center nearby, and now it's considered a luxury condo. My parents, hoping for more children, bought a spacious condo. That's why there's enough room even with Robert's family moving in. But even with its decent size, having Robert's family around is a nuisance for me. Working from home, I'm enduring this only for the sake of revenge. As Robert's sister said, there's no mortgage payment for this condo. When I was 3, both of my parents passed away in a car accident. They died on their way back from my paternal grandfather's funeral, colliding with a speeding car on the freeway. That day, I was supposed to go with them, but I had caught the flu and had a high fever. My maternal grandparents came to the condo where we lived with my parents to take care of me, leaving me as the only survivor. The mortgage payments were covered by the group credit life insurance. So the only housing costs I pay are the management fees and property taxes. Robert, seeing the amount, said he would contribute a bit more than that to our household expenses. There's no mortgage, so if I put in that much, we should manage Emily's income, right? We'll each use our own earnings for personal expenses. Sounds good, doesn't it? I agreed, thinking maybe he was right. Until then, I had been paying for everything by myself, so I thought his contribution would lighten my load. Looking back, it was foolish, but at the time, I was blinded by my love for Robert and just went along with it. Despite whatever Robert may believe, he probably thinks he's the head of the household and the one supporting me. This is likely why he can easily label me a parasite. In reality, it's quite different. I cover most of the expenses, including utilities, food, social expenses, and entertainment. Now, with 5 additional real parasites added to my household, managing with just that amount became impossible. I wanted to get rid of them as soon as possible, but I pretended not to notice and endured it. I gritted my teeth and allowed Robert's family to freely shop, reminding myself that I'll be the one laughing in the end to get through these tough times. Then, 3 months after deciding to divorce, the day to act finally came. I'm tired. Please decide. It's either me or your family, I told Robert, presenting him with a final decision. He was surprised, but I continued without concern. None of your family members lift a finger to help around the house. They just dump all their chores on me. You know I work from home. I'm not just playing around. Yet they treat me like a freeloader and tell me to know my place since you're supporting me. I've had enough, I cried as I confronted Robert. He looked at me, smirked, and said, Then you should leave. Didn't I tell you before? You're not really a part of this family yet. Giving up like this means you didn't earn your place in the family. I pretended to be shocked as I looked at Robert. What are you surprised about? If you can't live with my family, then you're the one who has to leave. Oh, and since I'm not at fault, I'll take this apartment as alimony, and I'll take half of your savings as part of the property division. Ah, so that was his aim all along. That's why his whole family kept harassing me, trying to drive me out. I knew it, but hearing it outright was still a shock. It was someone I once loved and even married, but thanks to this, I made up my mind. Fine, I said, deciding to divorce Robert. But this condo is mine, and I'm not at fault either. What did you say the reason for the divorce is? You allowing your family to live with us without consulting me, and your family ignoring me, I said firmly to Robert. He seemed shocked that I outright rejected his proposal, not expecting such a response. It made sense, as I had always complied with his demands since our marriage. Thinking back on it made me angry. I don't want to spend another second with you all, so I'll leave now. But you should also prepare to leave. It's a joke, right? This is our home. We won't leave. Ever heard of residential rights? You can't just force people out who live here, Robert shouted. Ignoring his ranting, I left the house and went to my grandparents' place. I explained everything and asked if I could stay until things were settled. My grandparents were shocked to learn what I had gone through and scolded me for not consulting them earlier. Tears in their eyes, I said, Grandma, Grandpa, I'm sorry for worrying you, but I'll be okay now. I might look frail, but I'm not really, with forced laughter and tears in my eyes. The day after I left the apartment, Robert contacted me right away. Hey, what's this all about? What are you referring to, the certified mail? I was impressed by the quick work. I had left the divorce proceedings to a lawyer, and when I told them yesterday that I was leaving the house, they arranged for everything to be delivered today. I'm not paying any alimony, and I'm not leaving the condo, just so you know, Robert declared. But legally, you have an obligation to pay, and you don't have the right to continue living in that apartment. I responded, What are you talking about? That apartment is mine too since we're married. If you insist, then pay me half its value to buy me out. Such an absurd claim. Talking like this is getting us nowhere. Please communicate through my lawyer from now on, I said, ending the call. I knew he would probably call again tomorrow, but I had no desire to talk anymore today. As expected, he called the next morning. Hey, what's this all about? He repeated the same line as yesterday, showing no creativity at all. What are you referring to? The card's not working. What did you do? What I did was cancel it. That card was mine, and you were just using the family card, remember? Indeed, before leaving the house, I had switched all the contracts from that card to another and canceled it. Of course, the family cards would stop working when I canceled mine. Yes, you paid the apartment's management fee and property taxes just for the first 2 months. It's not much, but I can deduct that from the alimony if you like. When I mocked him like that, I heard some indistinct shouting from the other end of the phone. That's right. Robert only paid the agreed amount for just 2 months. He made various excuses about the store and whatnot, always finding a reason to ask me to wait. But then he stopped paying altogether. If he forgot and thought he was still paying, that's some poor memory. But I didn't care anymore. He's someone I'm cutting ties with. His memory doesn't matter to me. That's the situation, so please pay your half of the living expenses I've been covering. I've kept a detailed household ledger, which I'll submit as evidence. Then divide the savings properly. It's marital property, he demanded. Yes, I understand. Let's split it accordingly. I agreed, and he ended the call with a parting shot, reminding me not to forget. A few days later, I got another call with the same line. I realized they lacked not only memory, but vocabulary as well. What do you mean the split of shared property? Why is it 0? You must be rolling in cash from your parents' insurance and alimony. Ah, so that's what they were thinking. I patiently explained that my savings before marriage weren't part of the shared property, and since we had no savings after marriage, it naturally amounted to 0. Don't lie to me. If you think I'm lying, why don't you consult with someone? Anyway, from now on, please communicate through my attorney. I won't be speaking to you directly anymore. Goodbye, I said, then hung up the phone and blocked Robert's number. 2 months after I left the house, Robert and his family finally moved out of the apartment. Not because they had a change of heart, but because they couldn't sustain their living. Naturally, Robert's income alone wasn't enough for a family of 5. They were used to shopping extravagantly with my card, and telling them to cut back now was impossible. I had let them use the card intentionally for this, knowing them. I was sure it would come to this. His family started pestering Robert for shopping money, and when he refused, they began stealing from his wallet. Even when Robert got mad, they blamed him for kicking me out. To top it off, the electricity, gas, and water were all shut off. Of course, I had arranged for that since I had no plans to live there for a while. Robert tried to get them restored immediately over the phone, but the house was in my name. No one else could get them reconnected. During the hot summer and early fall, his family couldn't bear the extreme heat and eventually left the condo. Where they went, I neither know nor care. Robert tried to stay till the end, but eventually gave up due to the lack of electricity and the inability to bathe. The divorce proceedings progressed faster than expected, not because Robert had a change of heart, but because he messed up. He cheated on me while we were still married, or rather, he had started making moves on someone, thinking he could kick me out soon. He bragged about owning a luxury apartment in a prime downtown location, luring young girls there. It's surprising he did this while his family was around. But he had a history of such behavior, so they didn't mind. He was handsome, so I suspected he might do such things. Before leaving, I had installed cameras in several places in the house, capturing all the evidence. Maybe he underestimated me, but he really did disrespect me. He brought his family into my home without my permission, made a family card, left me the bill, kicked me out, and cheated on me. I demanded a hefty sum in alimony for all these. When Robert saw the amount, he turned pale and desperately pleaded for reconciliation. But I had no such intentions. Knowing he couldn't pay, I made him borrow as much as possible from his company and took whatever I could get. When I threatened to sue him for fraud over the family card, he reluctantly agreed to my terms. Well, I hope he does his best to pay off his debt. The divorce is finalized, and I'm still staying at my grandparents' place. I haven't decided what to do with the apartment yet. I might sell it, I treasured it because my parents left it to me, but since they passed away when I was very young and I have no memories of them, plus all this has happened, I think they'd understand if I let it go. My work as an illustrator is picking up. I might live alone again, but it's a good time for that. I can work just fine staying at my grandparents'. I'll depend on them a little longer, then move forward with strength. Next time, I won't be fooled by a man who's only good looking. I hope to find a partner I can share my life with.